Welcome back. In the previous video, we presented two core principles of formal axiology: the formal definition of good and the three dimensions of value that form the hierarchy of value. We're now going to dive into some of the principles of applied axiology, where we build on the formal principles in ways that bring them more fully, rationally, and experientially to our everyday life and work.
First, let's take another look at the definition of good. Again, Dr. Hartman's original formal definition of good is that a thing is good to the degree that it has all the properties or attributes required to fulfill its concept or definition. Inherent in any concept of something is a purpose. For example, the most common purpose of a chair is to safely hold a person about knee-high and provide a sturdy back to lean on. The chair's purpose can only be fulfilled if it has all the attributes required to do so. So, another useful way to define and think about what good means is that a thing is good to the degree that it has all the attributes required to fulfill its definition and its purpose. Thinking about good through the lens of purpose and attributes helps us to see that each attribute or part of a thing has its own purpose in adding value to the whole thing. For example, the back of the chair gives the chair the valuable feature of a sturdy back to lean on. This applied axiological definition of good can easily and almost intuitively be applied to everything from an idea or strategy to building a house, making dinner, composing an email, raising our children, designing laws and policies, hiring employees, or buying a car. Essentially, everything. If you really think about it, you won't find a single thing in your entire life and world where this definition is not objectively true and applicable. To apply this definition, just ask yourself, does this thing have all the attributes required to fulfill its purpose? Of course, this suggests that you also need to be clear about the purpose of the thing to start with, if you want to arrive at a good answer. Now let's look again at the hierarchy of value, this time not just from a complexity of attributes perspective, but from a quality of life perspective as well. And to really drive this next principle home, let's use true love as our topic. The idea of true love is important, but it's only an idea, an abstract systemic concept. As a systemic concept, we either have the idea or don't. Even if we do, the idea of it doesn't add very much quality to life, especially when compared to true love in action and behavior, extrinsic, which has both greater complexity and greater value in terms of enhancing quality of life. But the intrinsic experience of truly loving and feeling, truly loved, like life itself, has immeasurable attributes and is infinitely and irreplaceably priceless. In a real sense, it defines quality of life. So what we can see is that there is a direct correlation between increasing complexity of attributes and added quality of life. As we move up the hierarchy from systemic to extrinsic to intrinsic, the greater the complexity, the greater the capacity for things in each dimension to enhance quality of life. Because of this direct correlation between complexity of attributes and quality of life, from an applied axiology perspective, we can think about value not only as a function of degrees of complexity, but as the capacity to enhance quality of life. However, there is a caveat. The formal hierarchy of value teaches us that when we think about quality of life, we must think about quality of life for all concerned, not just ourselves. So here's the full principle for making good value judgments from an applied axiological perspective. A thing has value to the degree that it has the capacity to enhance quality of life for all stakeholders.
Coming up next, in the last of our videos on the core principles of formal and applied axiology, we'll address an interesting challenge that arises as a result of the fact, as Robert Hartman wrote in his autobiography, freedom to live. Though the measure of value is universal and objective, It should be noted that the application is subjective.